phones, and their watches. Okay. Jeremy's here, he's one of the candidates, and I'm going to have him start the meeting. And the reason we do that is because candidates at this point are super busy. And so we like to have them introduce themselves, and then they can leave if they need to. So, Jeremy, you want to come on up? And
thank you. If I stand right here, am I still in the video? Is that live stream?
Yes, you are. Just a little that way.
Is my head blue?
Your head is blue, yes.
Should I just do, is that okay? Okay.
Maybe come forward just a little bit. Little, yeah. There you go.
Oh, okay, good.
Yay.
There you go. So, thank you. Thanks for having me. Jeremy Harrison Smith. I am running for Skagit County Auditor. I will be on your primary ballot that comes the end of this week, or it gets sent out at the end of this week. So start looking for that in your mailboxes on Friday. Thank you for having me. I came a couple months ago. I have flyers now, so those are on the back table. Just real quick, a little bit about me. Born and raised Skagit County, born in Mount Vernon, went to Cedar Valley High School, and now live in Clear Lake with my wife and 5-year-old daughter. And a fun little story, I think some of you may have heard this, a little story real quick. I went to Clear Lake Elementary School, and I was in about 3rd grade, and there was a presidential election, and there was a picture, a portrait of the old president. Soon after inauguration, I sent a letter to President Bill Clinton, and I said, hey, I'm in 3rd grade at an elementary school, and my school still has the picture of the former president in the hallway. Could you send us a portrait? And he sent a letter back and sent a portrait. And that stayed up in our school hallway for 8 years with a copy of my letter next to it.
And it should still be there.
So I've been paying attention to elections for a long time. So I've been a range of things from a nonprofit executive director, preschool teacher, and the past 3 years I've worked in the governor's office as the Northwest Regional Rep. So I cover this region for the governor's office as a liaison, connecting constituents, businesses, to state resources, connecting folks with state agencies, and being in touch with local electeds as well. So that's been my experience for the past 3 years. And now I decided to jump in and run for county auditor because, as you all know, especially in these times, it's super important that we have somebody in our local auditor position to continue to protect our safe, secure, and transparent elections and safeguard our mail-in voting system. So that is why I am running, to make sure we continue to have somebody that will stand up against federal pressure to change the way we run our elections here, which I think are pretty good in Washington State, at least, and Skagit. So I also want to increase customer service, increase access to the auditor's office. I'm bilingual, I speak Spanish, and want to make sure folks get the services they need when they come in, whether it's elections, licensing, or the records department.
Excellent.
And there's a proposal to create a joint front desk between the assessors, auditors, and treasurer's office. So that's a proposal that I support. So when folks come in, I hear a lot of feedback about people coming into the office to do something and they say, oh, the window's closed at the licensing desk or something. So I hear those stories. And so one of the solutions I think would be to create where there's always somebody there, and some people are cross-trained and they're able to help you in any area that's needed. So campaign is going well. I'm about to send off 20,000 mailers for the primary, and been doorbelling, and we have a list over here.
We have a sign-up sheet. It's very official.
Sarah put a sign-up sheet together for me for Anacortes doorbelling. If you have any
If
time.
you are interested in doorbelling, sign up, please.
Yes, because I've been focusing so far on Mount Vernon myself, and I need to start getting to Anacortes. And so I know a lot of folks out here, and hopefully folks can help knock on doors. And I think I also will be doing some phone banking for reminding folks to get ballots in. So this primary is kind of a poll, a live poll, and there's only 2 candidates. We're both going to advance to November, but to win the primary is going to be good momentum and show that I have a viable campaign. So it's important. Signs are going up, as you probably have seen around a little bit, and I'd really appreciate all your support in anything you can help out with. And I have a donation envelopes back there. There's a QR code on a piece of paper, and I know and you saw these flyers that the league put out, that event with Representative Clyde Shavers on Friday at Village Pizza. So thanks again for having me, and keep a lookout for your ballots.
Thanks, Jeremy, for coming. Really appreciate it. Like I said, our candidates are zooming around, going everywhere. So thank you for taking the time. Really appreciate it. I don't think we have any other candidates here yet. If we do, we'll just interrupt and let them introduce themselves. Are there any elected officials, Democratic Party officials, including PCOs? Please raise your hand and say hi.
Hi.
Hi. Right. PCOs do a really lot for the Skagit and Democratic Party in general. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it should be. Thank you.
So thank you. We have a mailing list. If you don't happen to be on it, please put your name there with your email address. And Rita, who takes care of that, will make sure that we send you out information. We don't send a lot of emails. Rita is putting together weekly all the different fundraisers and different things that are happening. So it's in one list versus an email every day or 2 or 3 that makes people just delete everything. So if you get something from us, it's usually a list of stuff or it tells about our next meeting. If you want to leave, it's these doors, the library door is locked, and the bathrooms are in the back. We have lovely cookies. We also have some wonderful cookies from Rita. Thank you, Rita. And we also have some decaf coffee and some hot water for tea. And Rita is recording the meeting on her phone, and that will go out to our YouTube channel in a couple of days. So if you know people who miss the meetings, please feel free to remind them to watch them on the YouTube. We are an independent Democratic association with a focus on education. I'd like to remind everyone we're not a PAC. We can't endorse candidates or contribute to their campaign, but we do invite Democratic candidates to talk about issues and legislation. The ballots are coming out. The primary elections is in August, and the general election is in November. You can contribute to the candidates and get involved. All of them have great websites. Just look them up and you can get going on what you need to do. And they all need help doing a multitude of things, so please feel free to help. Our next meeting is next month is in August, again in the library from 7 to 9. And we are really honored to have Denny Heck. He's the Lieutenant Governor as the speaker, and his focus will be talking about the last session, the present issues, and what to expect next year. It's going to be very interesting. It'll be a great time to ask questions that people have, and we'd be able to ask, right there from the Lieutenant Governor. So please spread it around. I wanted to thank Shay, who's not here today, Shay Schulberg, for arranging this meeting. She did all the footwork, so that was great. We'll probably pass the hat later. And just to let you know, we do donate money to local groups. We have donated to the Anacortes Family Center, and we also do a brick dinner, and we take suggestions about ideas about where to donate money. We don't have a ton of money, but every little bit helps. So that is what's going on. I always encourage people to join up for the Skagit Democrats newsletter and the Whidbey Island newsletter. Both of them are really excellent, and let you know what's going on. Indivisible does that as well. So there's 3 groups that are easy to find out what is happening. League of Women Voters is another group that does a lot of local stuff, and they have really good websites. So there's only 2 other announcements. The gala for the Skagit Dems is coming up September 5th. That's not as far away as we thought it was. Seemed like it was forever, but their website is up and about and running, so you can get tickets for that. And that's always really fun. A lot of the candidates come, a lot of good information passed out. And just as a past thing, we had a great July 4th. There were a lot of people there. We had Fidelco Democrats, Skagit Democrats, Skagit Safe and Sane, and a great big group from Anacortes Stands Up. Jeremy was there with his adorable family. And we even had a few people from Luke Larson's. He was out on the islands, but some of the people came. The weather was great, and we had a wonderful crowd. A lot of positives, so it was really a nice event. All right, I am going to pass this on to Valit. Do you want to make a quick announcement about Friday night?
Okay.
Valit is the organizers.
Here we go.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you all for coming. Totally appreciate your support for the Democrats. We left a flyer on the chairs. I'm really hoping this Friday, the 17th, we will have a fundraiser at the Village Pizza in Anacortes, both for Jeremy as well as for Clyde Shavers. Folks, these are 2 positions we can't afford to lose as Democrats, in my view. I'm really hoping we'll have plenty of Democrats coming in, supporting them. I'm also hoping we'll have some of the other candidates coming in to join us, just for, again, name recognition, as well as exchanging ideas. So I'm hoping we'll be serving pizza and refreshments, including wine. Looking forward to it, and I hope to see you all on Friday at 5 o'clock at Village Pizza, this Friday, 17th.
I'm sorry, is it upstairs at Village?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, it
thank
is.
you.
Very nice. Thank you, Barbara. And here is Sarah.
So we have a lot of events happening right now, and I just wanted to highlight some things that are coming up. I had to write them down, or so many of them. So we know about Jeremy's thing, and then Shay is hosting a fundraiser for Joe Burns on the 23rd. So that'll be at her place. You need to RSVP in order to get the location. We have put together a ballot party. So as you guys probably know, we have a fairly complicated judicial race going on. And it's not the kind of thing people know about usually. So on Tuesday night at Bill and Becky Kennedy's house, and I will be sending this out, and Rita will be sending it out to you guys. I'll be sending it out to the Anacortes email and posting it. So that'll be at 7 at night, and it'll be an opportunity to share our thoughts about the ballot. It's going to be fairly that race is gonna be fairly complex, but we'll talk about everything. On the 18th in Mount Vernon, there will be a Signs of Fascism action. And that's gonna be a walk from Mount Vernon to Burlington on Riverside Drive. So that starts at 1 o'clock. Go to Mobilize if you wanna sign up for that, okay? You know, the indivisible scheduling thing. Sunday, of course, we will have our noon rally. Anti-ICE primarily, I think, this time. The ballot party, and then you have to vote, August 4th.
Okay.
That's it.
Thursday night, there's the candidate forum with Joe Burns. That's Thursday in Cedar Woolley.
That's the League of Women Voters.
Yes.
Yep. So, you know, these things are posted everywhere. Find them.
I can just speak from the presentation. There's no worry. Yeah, so this must be not very long or something.
You want me to run it around again? Do they get more people to come? I can't see behind me.
But it's
I
okay.
know, but the doorbell is scary.
I can make it
Yeah.
work. The microphone's right up here.
Turn it over to Dustin. I wanted to introduce Dustin. He is the executive director of the Anacortes Family Center. And he's worked in nonprofit fundraising and management for nearly 15 years, including 10 years in Seattle, working for organizations ranging from the Seattle Symphony to the Family Law CASA, which is court-appointed special advocates. Dustin joined the board in 2018 because he was passionate about the vitally important resources and programs the Senior Center provides to our community. He was on the board of the Senior Center. And I'm just going to read this. He's excited to work with the incredible team of staff, board members, volunteers, and community members to further enrich and develop both the Senior Center when he was on the board, and of course the Anacortes Family Center, which is absolutely a treasure. So here is Dustin. We're having, as you can tell, we're having computer angst. So here we go, Dustin. Sorry about that.
No, you are. Thank you. Thank you. I will try to be as entertaining as possible without having this but this PowerPoint has like 3D effects and like, you know, like alligators that come out. I mean, it's really, it's unfortunate that you don't get to see it. But shy of that, I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible. So I have been here several times before. I am thankful to be along with my sidekick, Svenja Marshall. She is our Director of Development and has been for the last year or so. And we have some board members in the room, Trina being one of them, and some past board members in the room and present and all sorts of things. And some people that we care a ton about and are doing some great volunteer work. Thank you, Jeremy. So today's presentation is going to be a little bit different, and I'll try to get through it as quickly as possible. If you have questions, don't hesitate to interrupt me. I'm happy to be interrupted. If there's specific information you want, I hope I have it. If I don't, I'll get it back to you in a timely manner, and I'll make sure to get your information. But this is a presentation that's a little bit different from some of the other presentations that we've done historically. So fundamentally, going back to the foundation of the organization, every nonprofit starts small, and it starts in concept, and it really has to prove its concept. And in the 2 years that the organization first started, it really didn't prove its concept. It didn't get out into the community. It didn't make a case for itself. It didn't bring in the people that it needed to bring in to be supported, and it didn't tell our story. And so even though we opened the doors in 2010, by 2012, the board was going through a fairly acrimonious divorce, and we were having some really tough conversations. Thankfully, I was not there for those. Then, though I've been involved with plenty of them. So the board sort of banded back together, kind of put some Band-Aids back together, did a recruitment effort, found some good candidates. I happened to get married to the Navy, and secondarily got the second best thing that's happened to me, and that's my job. The Anacortes Family Center is incredible. I feel lucky every day to get to go to work there. I feel so thankful for getting to do something. When people were like, Dustin, like, what do you want to do when you grow up? The only way I could describe it, and this is such a bizarre way of answering this question, was like, I just want to do something that's like punch in the gut, that like punches me in the gut, motivates me, like gets me, like from a very visceral place. And the fact that I ended up in the space I ended up in, probably not the most appropriate way to describe it. Maybe you could say, just invigorating, but I'm just telling you what my 9-year-old brain was telling others. So being able to be a part of an organization that is intrinsically part of doing outreach, a real broad outreach in the domestic violence area and the area with kids, especially homeless youth and youth that are in McKinney-Vento, which is homeless youth and youth that are in foster care programs that need help and need really specialized care in our school district. And the overall saying that I'll say for the Family Center is that our extension, our reach, has been balanced by two things. One of those two things is that I was brought up in the nonprofit school of thought that mission creep was a 4-letter word and you didn't do it. And so I've been very cautious about that. But number two, that necessity is the mother of invention. And so I think we've done a really good job of kind of answering those two, finding a middle space where we fit and can accomplish the work that our community tells us needs to be done, while doing it in a way that doesn't necessarily need to mean I or Svenja or any of our staff are the ones doing the work. We're just helping facilitate the work. And I'll give you some examples of that in just a minute. So let's talk about impact. So last year, impact, the Family Center, I know many of you have heard this presentation before. Any of you want to throw out kind of in a shelter where you're at for 60 to 90 days after being the most vulnerable, what do you think your chances of getting out of that shelter into permanent housing is after 90 days? 0? Fair answer. Pretty low. So in Washington State, it's always vacillated between 17 to 22%. About if you are at 22%, if you're a shelter that's looked at and like, hey, you're graduating people out into self-sufficiency, meaning they have a lease and a job after 90 days, that's amazing. We want to throw all the money at you. And so then we came along and we kind of upended the apple cart and said, okay, we want to do this differently. We want to make it accountability based. We want people to have buy-in on what they're doing. And we also want to prevent this thing that we were seeing very clearly, which was shelter hopping. And it was a thing that Seattle had already been. I worked for a nonprofit that did affordable housing developing in Seattle. And my first job was as the business development manager for the Pioneer Square neighborhood when the Morrison Hotel was purchased. And so the advocacy I would do to the city council at that point was, hey, you are putting every single resource for a homeless person in a 2x2 block, and like, that ain't gonna work, bud. Like, this is gonna create some problems. And sure enough, it did. And so it's important to kind of have a diversity of education and thought and age and identity and income and all of those things. And that's one of the things I think Anacortes has done fairly right. So when we kind of toppled this over and said, yeah, we understand that the white coats, the people up in the ivory tower really think that this is the way that things should be done. That's great, but from a social worker's point of view, here's the problem. So you get someone who's just lived an unlivable experience. They're finally in a place where they're safe, and then you're expecting them to voluntarily go, okay, well, that was awful. Okay, let's go find a job, let's go find housing, let's go find all these things, and let's go. Bye. See you later. And independently. And that takes so much muster, right? Like the core of domestic violence, what we often forget is we think of domestic violence like this. Domestic violence is much more psychological. It is much more, you're not capable of going out that door. And if you go out that door, the only people out there are the people that aren't going to find you impressive. And you haven't worked in 12 years. So what good assets and skills and abilities do you think you have? And if you go out that door and those people laugh at your face, what are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them, oh, well, I've just been shacking up with a guy who's been taking care of me all along? Is that what you're going to tell them? And then all of a sudden they've been gaslit into thinking they have no worth. So our work starts there. It starts with, you have worth. In fact, you have such great worth that the work you've done raising your kids is transferable directly to some of the best and most high-paying jobs in our community, at our senior care centers, at our hospitals. Everywhere around town wants somebody that has the emotional compassion and ability to work with people that are going through the things they're going through. To take someone in a retail store that is coming in grumpy, not interested in buying anything, looking for this is not a autobiographical story, looking for something for my anniversary yesterday that I had completely forgot, and I did, but my mother-in-law reminded me. No dishonor in that. So, in doing that, that having someone come along and being able to engage me and pull me out of that space and pull me into a space of being able to talk about things that are in and available and around is a tremendous skill, right? The gift of gab. And if you can do that with your kids over having peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, my God, you can do it to anyone. And there's an easy kind of transfer, a class you can take to make that happen. And so the Family Center started doing that. And so conversely from that, our statistics really started to rise. And what immediately became clear to me is when I worked in Seattle, when I first started getting in Seattle, into nonprofit work in both Idaho and in Seattle, my biggest critique of the industry was, what is so interesting? So in normal business fails because it proves concept every day. If you take something out and you put it for sale and it sits here, and then the next day it sits here, and then the next day it sits here, and on the 10th day it sits here, proof of concept, this is garbage. Not really, Clyde, you did a great job. However, if you open the door and you go, oh, and somebody else goes, oh, I need one of those. I need one of those. All of a sudden you have proof of concept of something that someone wants. In nonprofits, we don't have that proof of concept. And what instead we've had is this kind of concept of blind public trust. You're a nonprofit, you must be doing great things because you're a nonprofit, so there. Unfortunately, that's not always true, right? I'd like to say it is all the time. I have best friends in nonprofits, they do a phenomenal job. I have really good friends in nonprofits that really don't do a great job. And I have some nonprofits that I can point to and say, for many reasons, they're outdated, they haven't moved along with the times, they haven't updated what the world is looking for or needing, or they've been just blindly guided by money. And so their mission, if you look over it in a timeline for 10 years, has shifted probably 15 times because it depends on what the grant cycle that year requires. And so they've never been able to really get their feet on the floor. And I certainly subscribe to something called storming, norming, performing. And the idea behind that is that when you first start something, your organization storms, you kind of get the hang of it, you norm. Then as that starts, then you perform, and then you start the circle over because you hire someone else, or you bring in a new product, or you bring in a new client, or something else changes, and that whole thing starts over again. And that continual revolution builds your Rolodex of how to deal with people, because that's who our constituency truly is. So as we started doing that, our success rates went really high up, well over 80. And we often got the criticism, well, you must be just taking easy clients. And I said, so you know what? Let's show our work even more. We have an independent program analyst, doesn't talk to us except for to do this. It is a fully authorized, signed off, ROI, acceptable thing that every client allows us to do, which is to have an independent program analysis that will never meet them, they will never meet that person. Dig into the file and say, hey, what did we do well? What did we do not well? What could we have done better? What things did you hate? What things did you love? What things did your kids really get a lot out of? And we incorporate it all. We show our work. And that has been so important to our success, because in showing our work, we can directly refute this argument of, oh, you must be taking easy clients, not doing, not having too many hard program requirements, all of those things. Gone, right? Because it's clearly stated, it's in the white paper, and it's irrefutable. And we have taken our writer on the road, so to speak, and she's been very clear about, data quality is her thing. She does it all over the world for CPS agencies and commerce agencies and historical building agencies and everything else. It's not worth it for her to burn her career on some little nonprofit in Anacortes' free project for her. Just not worth it. So last year we supported about 410 people. The vast majority of those, 55%, are kids. And what's really cool is that our average income in those 90 days went up from about $1,669 a month up to $2,866 a month within 90 days. That means they got better employment or additional employment. And if they got additional employment, that means that they likely found childcare, which is a really exciting thing. We have a couple of great new sites that we started. So most of our property is on 27th. If you haven't come, I have a card. Please let me give it to you. And I will gladly take anybody on a tour of our facility. It's incredible. We have now got 2 satellite projects. One on 24th. It's a small house on 24th. And we are just building a four cottage project on 31st, just by Storvik Park. The only thing between us and Storvik is Jack in the Box and Storvik. And it's fantastic. It's on a major thorough line. It is amazing for young developing kids. It will be the first time we offer 3-bedroom units. So we're helping, hopefully, build the next generation of Anacortes kids living here and being able to actually afford it here. So the question you might be asking is like, hey Dustin, things are great. What's your problem? I get that all the time. That's what I hear all the time from her. So there is something called, and this gets into a little bit of jargon, so bear with me because it does have an ask at the end. So the jargon is basically called something called the success paradox. So the success paradox says that an organization starts, it kind of struggles, people start learning about it, they love the struggle, they love the interconnectedness of community it's creating, And then it becomes kind of the topic manager, like the topic expert for this region. And then people in the community start saying like, hey, why aren't you talking to this person and this person and this person and this person? And that is exactly what's been on our strategic plan the last 5 years, is I have been talking to probably 15 organizations, acting as a free technical consultant to try to help spread what this great work does, because not only are we sharing a great message, but we're showing the power through our white paper and all of the documentation to make it happen with them. And it's already been vetted by attorneys and doctors and all sorts of different things. It's easily transportable. But we end up lately starting to face these questions, and they're questions that you might have heard in the community. Questions like, well, this organization is probably successful enough. They probably don't need more. Or, we should be fair with funding. We should be spreading it around to a great number of organizations. And typically, just for a lack of being in a rural community, often that means organizations that aren't staying in Anacortes. Or all of these nonprofits do something great, or maybe even something similar, so why shouldn't there just be one? And I'll just give to one. Has anybody heard any of those? Can you raise your hand if you've ever heard one of those, or thought one of those, even yourself? It's a thing. I feel it. I hear it. The questions kind of beg themselves, though. And when we really dive into them, we look at kind of some of the flaws of them. And one of the inherent flaws that I feel of them is that it ignores the concept that money is best spent locally, right here. The minute that money leaves Fidalgo Island, we lose so much control over what happens to it, who is served by it, what is happening to those folks, and we're getting very, very little back. And by the way, this is not something that's happening just in nonprofit space. This is happening in EMS space. I'm in the finance committee for the Island Hospital. It's happening for Island Hospital. It's happening for APD. It's happening for Parks and Rec. It's happening for a number of organizations. So what we like to remind people is that AFC writes, most organizations write, an annual budget, but that annual budget is based on a 5-year strategic plan. So our goal is to not start a program and end it the next year, because we can never know really truly how impactful it can be if it's only a 1-year program, unless it's designed that way, which none of ours are. And so when you have suddenly the funding shut off, or a huge reduction in funding, we end up having to then pull programs back, pull growth plans back, because we want to retain, just like if you were at work, for example, right? And your boss came to you and said, you know, you're doing such a great job, but my God, it seems like you're getting your job and work done just way too fast. So I think I'm gonna pay you $5 less an hour, but I'd really like you to make sure to get more done. Okay, thanks. It's kind of the same concept, right? And the problem with that is that we have planned expansions, and we have tried very hard to be good stewards of money. The minute that we have money in our coffers responsibly, we are then looking out and saying, what can we develop next? What can we build next? What can we add to our community next? At first, it was, hey, Justin Irish taps me on the shoulder. Hey, we're getting rid of the McKinney-Vento program. We can't afford it, but we can't actually get rid of it because it's legally mandated. So I don't know what to do. And I was like, Justin, all of those kids are already at our place. So I don't understand why you're employing a social worker and I'm employing a social worker, and they're working on the same kid on the same things. Just have our social worker cover them. And he was like, oh my God, that's never been done before. And it was like, that's great, let's do it. All of a sudden now Cedro's doing it, Marblemount's doing it, and a program up in Bellingham's starting to look at it. The islands are starting to look at it, and it's fantastic. So all of a sudden, this paradox makes us pull back because the community is pulled back from us, because it's like, you must be doing something so successfully, you must not need it. When the exact opposite is true. And in turn, fewer families end up being served. And community funding is used less effectively, and it tends to go to more complex organizations. So, what our county has recently done is they have regionalized homelessness. So they have pulled, for one example, coordinated entry. We used to run a coordinated entry, as did Community Action, and they said, well, we, Family Promise, Community Action got together, put a proposal together to run coordinated entry, and they said, great everything, yeah, but we really like the work that the VOA is doing. They just went from a $10 million budget to a $500 million budget using COVID, and so they have all the infrastructure they need, and so we're gonna assign it there. Well, the problem is that when all that COVID money went away, all of a sudden now they're restructuring like crazy, and they're just trying to find places to park all these programs while not getting rid of the money. And for them, $1 million and a $500 million budget doesn't seem like very much, right? 1 in 500s. For us, it's a 100% grant. It's huge. And so it's very impactful for us. So when we regionalize these things, we not only lose sight of the people that we're helping, we're bringing people up here who are like, where am I? Like, this is not Everett. This looks nothing like Everett. And on top of that, they're like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Like, what's going on? And then we have to break it to them because they're like, do you have a white shirt? A place I can buy a white shirt? And I'm like, no, not really. So the funding is used on organizations that generally are not as integral to our community because they're just simply not as local. So here's the questions I want you guys to be armed with, right? When you're starting to hear these things, when you're starting to feel these things. So number 1, is the nonprofit addressing the need in the community? Yes or no? Number 2, does the nonprofit grow and expand with the need? Or have they basically been doing the same thing you've seen them do for years and years and years? Number 4, is the nonprofit communicating where your gifts are going? And number 5, is the nonprofit clearly demonstrating the impact of the gifts it's receiving? And if those questions are yes, then what you're doing by ignoring that, going with the first, going with the fairness point, going with the, well, there's other nonprofits doing great work and this nonprofit seems to be great, but is you're saying, okay, we have a technical expert in this incredible town, and it's almost like a feeling of unworthiness, like, that we're not worthy of having this technical expert, so like, let's go elsewhere. And instead of just saying, hey, we have the right thing going, let's do everything in our power to make sure it works the best it possibly can so that it can keep working to help our community. Because I feel like I'm in a crisis. I know that constituents feel like they're in a crisis. I talk to them every single day. And it doesn't, rich, poor, doesn't matter. Across the spectrum, I hear that every day. So the Family Center really does work on a continuum of care. And what that basically is we start with outreach and intake. We work someone through our emergency shelter. That's 60 to 90 days. It's really intense work. I mean, I am working with you too many times a day to count, and probably to the point of being annoying, to find out like, hey, what's going on with your family? What signs are we seeing in expendable income that we might be able to pull back from? What options and jobs have you gone to? Oh, did you know that at that job we have a relationship with their HR person? Let me call them right now and you'll get to the top of the list, I guarantee you. We do all of those things for our clients, and it's a really fantastic thing. It's something that makes us unique. Back to that fairness question, it makes us unique because we have those relationships already developed. We don't have to develop them because they're already there. They've been there for 10 years. For the few that need it, they can go into transitional housing. And that is the same type of programming, but for up to 2 years. And then we see families flourish on to permanent housing, which is just a great world of doing only programmatic things that serve them well, like especially therapy. We'll continue to pay for therapy basically until you tell me to stop. Like we will continue to pay for child birth control until you tell me to stop, both male and female. We will continue to pay for smoking cessation until you tell me to stop because I want you to do it forever. So all of those things we continue to work with our clients on, but it is expensive. And so when the county in particular, or when local municipalities say, we're cutting your funding this year for a different program, it has really big impacts in how we run, and pretty immediate impacts in how we run. So let's talk quickly, because I know I'm running a bit out of time. You're fairly familiar with the buildings that we own. So let's quickly talk about some services that we provide. So things that you don't think about. So if a person comes in and walks in off the street, they might be looking for identification cards, birth certificates, social security cards. Can't rent a place without one of those, can't get a job without 3 of those. Citizenship papers. Maybe they're looking for a full credit report so that they can understand what their credit score even is and if it's even repairable. We go into the school with each McKinney-Vento person and child and work and are their transportation. We coordinate all of their transportation, and we coordinate all of their after-school childcare as well as some of their aftercare IED work. So what used to happen more often than not is I would end up sitting with a family, and it would be Mrs. Jones right here, and then her young son Tony right here, and then we would walk in together, the 3 of us, and this is when I was able to do more of this, and we'd walk in and it would be like, hi, what's your name? Hi, Dr. Katie, Dr. Phil, Dr. Jones, Dr. And so immediately, and then they'd sit down and they'd say, okay, great, well, so Dr. Jones has a quick question. Okay, yes. Can you please tell us what the onset of symptoms might have been, and can you go into detail about what specific symptoms you saw, when, what time, and were there any indicating factors that might have precipitated the child's behaviors, and give us more information about that. And I'd watch the mom, and it would start with like 1 tear, and then I'd be like, okay. Big breath, everybody. Like, okay, big breath. And then I go, hey, listen, like, you're a doctor, but we're not. Can you stop talking like a doctor for a minute? What's the question you're wanting answered? Well, I really just want to know what the baseline behaviors are. Like, okay, Mom, how does he wake up? What's he like when he wakes up? Oh my God, he's a friggin' nightmare. Like, he wakes up and he's going 90 miles an hour and, chasing the dog and tearing apart the house and bugging the neighbors and putting a whole box of Pop-Tarts in the microwave, pressing 15 minutes and then starting a fire in the microwave, and this is before I can get him in the bath. And it's like, oh, okay. Well, there's some problems there, right, Doctors Jones, and Jim, and Phil, and all? So we work really hard on doing that. Sobriety support. We have a great relationship with Deep Quality. They come and pick up at our front door at 5 o'clock in the morning. They drop off at 9 o'clock in the morning. Most of their patients are not clients that are tribal based. And so we get a really great relationship with them. And, therapeutic management, we have often anywhere from 7 to 17 therapists that are working really closely with us. We just broke ground on our latest affordable housing project. It's on 31st and 1311 31st. It will be 4 cottages. We are still in the process of raising money to fill in the last little gap. We have almost every dollar we need, but we're just raising the final little gap. So there's some opportunities to buy bricks. There's opportunities to sponsor units with furniture. There's opportunities to just sponsor the units themselves, and we'll make sure if you want to be acknowledged, that you're acknowledged appropriately, or whomever you wish to be acknowledged will be acknowledged appropriately. So a couple of asks. So we've gone through some jargon, gone through some things. So from the city is going to be coming up soon with an extension of remember when we passed 0.1% sales tax campaign? We did it really fast, but was really effectively. The campaign worked really, really well, and we sold that this campaign would fund 2 programs, the Anacortes Housing Authority and the Anacortes Family Center, and it provided a couple of suggestions of what types of buildings would be built. Turns out the Family Center's built all the buildings that we said we would build, so we've accomplished the promise we made to our constituents. Yay! Housing Authority still has a little bit of ways to go, but we're working on that. So now they're looking at extending it. It initially was a contract for 10 years. We're looking at extending it to 20. And we really need the program to remember the base of what this support was supposed to be. This support, every single community, going back to that fairness question, every single community ended up passing this, except they passed it the easy way. They ended up the next year getting the ability to pass councilmanically, and my gosh, had I had a crystal ball, and maybe I do, but I guess I just didn't check it that day. And had I known it would have passed next year, it would have been a much easier lift. But much to my husband's chagrin, I was, on our honeymoon, responding to every Facebook post that came up about, what was this again? How does this work again? And I was like, oh my God, I have to answer this right now. It's very important. And he was like, I'm gonna throw your phone across another ocean, and we're gonna be good. Thankfully, he didn't do that. So that discussion is going to come up, and we're really worried that councils had some really challenging positions that have been really surprising lately, and we don't want surprises around this. This is the way that Anacortes is able to build, extend, sustain affordable housing for a long term. And we feel like we have shown this community that we are good at doing what we tell you that we are going to do. And I can promise you that if we receive this money and we continue to draw in money for affordable housing projects, we will continue to find appropriate projects, and we will continue to develop those projects based on our 5-year strategic plan. I promise you that. So we really need strong advocates at City Council saying, hey, please support this plan. This plan was built to support 2 agencies. If we dilute it anymore, we're diluting our ability, and we're sending that money elsewhere. We don't have the time, ability, or concept to do that. It's too dangerous. And it's too hard of a time in Anacortes where property values are too high, interest rates are too high, houses are too high. We need to really have the ability to use this money in the way it was intended from the voters passing it. And we think we do. Future campaigns. So you might have saw in the paper there was a community development block grant that came up, and the way that it sounded like it was community action against the family center, and I really hate that because we've worked for a long time to have a very collaborative, rich relationship, and I think very, very highly of them. However, I also think I don't have any interest in going over to Mount Vernon to try to get their CDBG money, because every city gets theirs, and every nonprofit is supported by the city that they are predominantly in, giving their money to them. And so the conversation sort of got lost. But the bottom line of it is that this is one opportunity. When we created Anacortes as an opportunity zone, what the mayor knew to be true was, and this was long ago, that Anacortes should have the ability to impact its own. That we are a community that is a little bit different than all others. We are very different than Mount Vernon. I have in-laws that live there, and that's not the only reason that they're weird, okay? But secondarily, and more importantly, we are not the same as Burlington. Our financial challenges are not the same as Burlington, nor are we the same as Cedar Woolley, nor are we the same as Mount Vernon. And so each of those places has access to these funds. And so our argument was to City Council, like, please do not pull these funds outside of the city of Anacortes because, and I'll tell you exactly why, 2 weeks later, I'm talking to one of our county council members about a big pot of funding that's supposed to come back that we pay into, and it's supposed to come back to us. And what he said so plainly to me, without even asking, hadn't talked about it for 1 minute. He took the knife and he said, hey Dustin, you know, it makes it really hard when the city of Anacortes doesn't even support its own community. Oh, like knife right through the, I'm like, you're killing me. Because he really was. Because I'm like, I know, right? It's not about the money, it's about the optics. It's like, it's about saying, hey, we don't need it, they do. And maybe they do, but is the money that is meant for local communities the best way to do that? Probably not. And I would argue that things like T Avenue don't pop up overnight. If we stop supporting programs like T Avenue's outreach, I guarantee you it comes back. It is a relationship-based, that part of the business at that level of nonprofit work is a relationship-based organization. Like we are we are relationship-based, we are understanding-based, and we build on that week after week after week after week, and finally, after you trust me, then we can start having some hard conversations, but it takes a very long time. And if that goes away, it's not like I can come back in 2 weeks and be like, hey, I know I promised those things to you a few weeks ago. We just don't have the ability to do them. And maybe I will next year. And then by next year, he's or she's going to be like, not good enough. I've been, beat up 3 times, lost 2 kids, whatever in the meantime. So it really is something that is sad as it is to keep it in our mind. It's important to keep it in our mind. Other questions about those things and why those things are so important? So we really need your support, really truly, in this advocacy piece, this piece of going to the city, going to the mayor, going to the city council, going to our commissioners and saying, please represent Anacortes well. Please understand that we have a program that is running, and I will send our white paper to every single one of you. If you're ever interested, my email is dustin@anacortesfamily.org. If you want a card, I have it up here. I will send it out to you. It's on our website, anacortesfamily.org also. You can see the work we're doing, and I'm happy to take you on a tour to see what kind of work we're doing. Thankfully, we are able to do that because, we really do try to walk the walk and talk the talk. But I feel like I've talked a lot, and I appreciate your patience more than anything. And I'm sorry that, James Cameron designed this whole slideshow. So I apologize for that. But any questions that I can answer before we end?
Thank you very much for this fine presentation. Really great. I was curious, how is the number of customers, so to speak, fluctuated over the last, number of months, years, if you will?
So Our numbers are incredibly cyclical. So believe it or not, like our slowest time of year is kind of spring, summer, because kids don't typically, before they leave school, remind their teacher that something's going on, and then it's a great time to camp, and so for them, it's like, we're just going on an extended camping time. So by the time they get in, their parents typically are getting some form of tax return, especially earned childhood tax credits in the door, so they have a little bit of money to work with. It doesn't feel as dire. By the time they're back in school in the fall and it's cold and it's dark and damp, that's when we really start to see families start knocking on the door a lot, and we get a lot of referrals in. But that said, I have never seen our wait list at lower than 5 families. We have the ability to operate a motel voucher fund. So if we aren't successful getting a family into a different shelter, even for a short time, and sometimes we have the ability to call our shelter partners, because we have a great relationship with every single shelter from as far north to as far south as you can think. We can call them and say like, hey, listen, we just don't have space, but we really think that this person has the right stuff to be a great fit for the family center model. Do you have space for X number of days? And we'll get them in. So if that's not an option, then we get them into a motel voucher. And so we have pretty consistently seen a similar number of families served. Last year there was a small dip, and the small dip was because our building is turning, about 15 years old, and it's starting to see some big O&M, big O&M issues, operations and maintenance issues. So there were 2 units in particular that had some pretty big flooding as a result of some failures in some of the water systems, and so those units had to go offline because we didn't want to expose them to mud, we didn't want to expose them to dirt or anything else. We wanted to make sure they're as healthy as humanly possible, but that took way more time than we hoped to diagnose and then to treat. This year, I think we'll see those numbers bounce back up this year, back to higher than ever.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Who should we talk to? Because when you were talking that you lost money, that was in the newspaper,
Mm-hmm.
that they had given money to a different, I've forgotten who, was it the Community Action?
Correct.
So the money from you went to another social worker, Community Action.
That's correct.
Who exactly should we contact, and what time of year are they looking at budget?
That budget in particular, they always look at the same time of year. So it's usually around January, February is a good time to really start hounding if you want to, or subtly suggesting, or dropping off flowers, or sometimes I've noticed calling at 2 a.m. works. Just kidding. I don't know. Just kidding. I can just see Ryan. You had someone call me at 2 o'clock in the morning? Anyway, but really, truly, yeah, starting to talk to whoever your ward district city council member is, whoever you have a relationship with, whoever, if you have a relationship with the mayor, start talking to them in that time frame, and consistently mention it. Consistently mention, hey, public-private dollars don't work if we don't have the public dollars to match. The public is far more reticent to put their money in the door if they're seeing, for some reason, the public has any kind of hesitation to do so. So it really, really does have huge effects. We felt them pretty incredibly. So when my board came to me and they were like, 15,000 may not be a huge amount of dollars to us it is, to an organization with a $1 million budget, it's not, or is less. We end up really, it impacts us. And we've had that money since Lori Geer. We started fighting for that money before Lori Geer's first term. And she's the one that said, hey, this money's supposed to be used for as local, homeless, with family, shelter that you can get, and that kind of seems like the family center. Why would I get it to someone else? And so she was really passionate about that, and every mayor has been since then. So it's important to make that clear to them that you want to see that money stay local, and that it is important for you to see that money stay local.
Are all of these families from Anacortes, or is it kind of a combination of the county, or where do these kids come from, or families come from?
Yeah, great question. So most of our kids are from Anacortes. It is difficult to always fill a shelter with only people that are only exclusively Anacortes based, because especially when you're low income, like if you need to buy a t-shirt, it's really hard to do so on island. Maybe Dollar Store has a good option, I don't know, but we'll see. It really, you are kind of the community, you're pretty spread out, right? And the question I have to my staff, and that my staff has to answer to me is, are we creating another barrier by bringing this person to Fidalgo Island, or are we actually helping them? Because if we're only creating another barrier, that's only hurting them, not helping them.
They need that community.
Absolutely, absolutely. But it also needs to make sense, right? Like if I have someone who is, got childcare set up in Burlington, has a job in Burlington, and has a sister in Burlington, and nobody out here, then by God, like it doesn't make sense for us. She's going to be driving back and forth 3 times a day, and at gas at $5 an hour, like that goes quick. So we really do try to make it. Do you have a tie here? And for me, that can be as simple as like, hey, if your other kid has to go to the emergency room, do you have someone you can call to babysit with the kid that you're not taking, so that they can sleep and be ready for school in the morning, so you can go and help your other child? It can be that simple.
Well, what's the number of families or kids that you on an average dealing with monthly, or
Monthly?
Well, or however numbers that
Yeah.
you can.
So
explain
monthly we
it to
serve,
me.
in our support programs, probably 9 in emergency, 9 and 18. So 18, probably 5 in motel voucher. So that's 23. And then I don't know if you want to count any of the clients we're working with in outreach before they're in our front door. That might be they're coming to our building every day to take a shower. Could be that they're coming to get their social security card.
Huge subject.
Yeah,
I
so
get that.
I
It
would
goes
say,
forever.
it's probably in the neighborhood of anywhere, depending on the day, between 150 and 200 people are working with our staff
Okay.
daily to
Okay.
try to troubleshoot some problems to make it more possible for them.
Wonder what we did in the 50s, because that's when I
We
was
had
in high school.
unions.
Huh?
Yeah,
No,
We had unions, that we didn't have the same economic situation at all.
Oh, yeah, well, everybody had a job,
People had jobs.
yeah.
well, then we had stay-at-home moms, and
Yeah.
that's not a thing as much anymore
Well,
because we
they
can't
didn't have
afford
a
it,
car.
right?
Moms were always home. If the kids wanted to go someplace, they ran clear across town all by themselves.
On their bike.
Yeah, and families tended to live much closer together. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I had a kid, my closest family is in Idaho and in California, so it's not like my family's gonna be watching my kids. I don't think I'd invite them to. Different subject.
Yeah.
But like, families that used to be a much bigger integral part of how that our society was working together. Yeah.
Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. You said it, not me. Any other questions I can answer, because you've been so patient? Yes.
Your new building there on Commercial, what is there? Are there like apartments?
Are you talking about the one we just broke ground on, or the one that's on the corner of Commercial and 27?
That opened a couple years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I think you're talking about our admin building. It's on the corner of 27, and it is our admin building. It's kind of a building for utility use. So we have the only open public shower that people can use in there. We have a demonstration kitchen where kids and adults can learn how to cook, and big classes can come in and do cooking lessons. We have a conference room that's part of our life skills program, but it's also used by a slew of community organizations, all the way from Anacortes Pride to Stand Up Anacortes to, at times, to I'm drawing a blanket, Skagit Legal Aid will do work out of there. In the back, we have a headquarters for A Simple Gesture and their red bag collection program. Since that's all volunteer, it was important for us to be able to create a space that they had just so that they could organize. We have a big room for people to drop off donations, so that as people, things break or things happen, we can transfer out, or if people move out and need furniture and we have furniture, we can move that out. We also have 2 Connex boxes that assist with that as well. And so that building really does have 1,000 different kind of utilities to it, but it is where we meet with our clients. It's where we bring our clients. It's where people come in and drop stuff off. It's where people come in and say, hey, what is this place? I need help, but I wasn't sure if you can provide it. And the answer is like, yeah, what can we do? What do you need help with? So it really is just kind of a great place. Come and take a look, please.
I will.
Yeah.
Pull
I'd
the
love-
cards out.
Sure. Don't tell me twice.
Yeah.
You had a question?
Thank you.
I do have a quandary about fairness.
Okay.
We are a wealthy community, we have wealthy real estate, we have more of a tax base, we have fewer homeless. What's our responsibility to people in the rest of the county where there is greater need?
So,
It's not your responsibility, what's our responsibility?
no, I get it. And I think that's a really, really good question. My answer typically is, the reason, if we were able to solve homelessness, my first answer to you would be, now let's go figure out how to do it elsewhere. If we've not quite figured out homelessness, then my answer to you would be, let's make sure this program is doing everything it can, and we're not yet, because we don't have the money to. But in the meantime, let's create some kick-ass technical assistance programs so that we can show them for free, with nothing being proprietary, how we do this program, so that they can mimic and create success for themselves in their programs.
Right.
Because there's things that are culturally relevant to us that won't be to them, and to them that won't be to us. So I think we have a responsibility to be willing to say, like, hey, I'm a member of this community, but I see that these other communities need things, and we're willing to step up and help. But we are a long way from answering the cry of the people that are lost in this city. And so, while it seems like a strong desire to say, and I want to fix, like the yes and approach is great. Like, I'm a yes and person until it gets to the point where there's scarcity, because then it's like, oh wait, did I just yes and in the meantime make it more hard for someone in my community to do something that they needed to do, and now I don't have the resource to help them with that.
Right.
And that's what we struggle with. But we have really answered that charge, and you and I can have a sit-down conversation about the myriad of number of ways we've done that. We've been very attentive to what those programs are doing, how they're doing them.
Yeah.
Family
Are
Promise.
they welcoming of the assistance?
Incredibly. Like, Family Promise of Skagit County Audrey will tell you that the friendship that she and I have developed has been, she was like, you know, when I don't know what to do, I call Dustin.
Yeah.
And when he doesn't know what to do, he calls the people that do know what to do and then calls me and tells me. Because I don't always have the answers. But we're able to sort of figure it out. And I think it's important when we're talking to our city council or elected officials to say, hey, if you have a resource topic expert here, why would we look elsewhere to fix a problem that we're still working on and doing here? Like, does that sound fair? Like, what's our job? And maybe it's a difference between my view and your view, and if that's okay, we can agree to disagree. But I truly think that people get into local politics to fix local issues. That's why we have local wards, right? I want to make Ward 3 the best ward that it can be and deal with the things within Ward 3 or whatever it might be. And that doesn't mean you ignore those things, and nor does it mean you don't have a dedicated budget that spreads something around. Like that's okay too. But I'm a big believer that you are going to feel better and give more and feel more connected to what you're doing and giving if you can drive by and be like, oh my God, I just donated that orange backpack yesterday and now there's an 8-year-old boy walking to school that I didn't see walking to school yesterday. And that doesn't happen if you ship it off to fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Thank you, but I gotta tell you, we have to leave now, Dustin.
Well, I know you have a dog,
Appreciate it, yeah.
very important.
She's gonna hold on.
Yes, great to see my friend.
Okay,
Thank you.
you take care.
You too. Any other questions? I know I've run long.
That's great.
Okay. Thank you for your time. I'm so grateful for you.
So that's, bottom line is, as an activist, as a citizen activist, talk to people on council, talk to people.
And talk to your friends. Just make sure that to counteract that idea that a program cannot get so successful. Like, a program can only get so successful if it stops. If it stops doing what it's doing and it doesn't do anything anymore. That's the only time I would then say, you know, okay, then you don't need my money. Like, you're not still producing, you're not still trying to work the problem, you're just resting on laurels.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dustin. Thank you for all that you're doing. And I hope that this group and people that watch the video will remember that and really talk to our council, talk to our mayor, and really let them know that we support this program and that what you were saying is that if you cut public funding, then people think, well, why should I give if I have money? I'll give it somewhere else. And it kind of is a snowball effect that the more money they get, the more people feel comfortable giving. So it's just something to think about. Anyway, thank you all for coming, and thank you for all you're doing. It's wonderful. And I apologize for the technology glitch. And that I can't do anything to fix it.
No worries.